Hi, my name's Alan Stockdale. Welcome to my podcast. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different from the other ones. I'm going to have a solo one, so it's just going to be me and my northern UK voice talking on his own. What I'm going to do a few podcasts like this and just touch on subjects what I just want to get across. And in today's one, I want to talk about people, us as a soul. What are we? Where do we come from? What's the purpose of where we are? Why are we here? Just entire existence of the universe, really. So it's quite a massive subject what I'm going to talk about. I mean, I'm going to keep it short. I'm not going to bore you too much. Well, hopefully not bore you at all, but yeah. So basically, the way I see it is, and just I'll do a prefix before I go any further. The information I'm going to tell you has come to me mainly through meditation. And if you've seen some of the other videos, you'll see that I do use a protection around myself, and I use source energy as this protection. And I use it as a filter also, so the information I get is only coming from the highest sources, basically, and sources what have my best interest at heart. So I try to filter out any interference from entities or anything out there that AIs what might be trying to give me false information. So just to let you know where this information is coming from, just to give you some sort of idea, it's not just coming out of my head, basically, or some other source what's giving it to me. So in the beginning, let's just use our one universe or one multiverse, let's say, as an example. Now, you have source, creator. So let's just say we've got this sea of consciousness, of love, bliss, the creator, whatever notion you have in your head, it's just one consciousness of pure love energy. And who knows how long this existed for, because obviously time doesn't even exist in these realms, so that doesn't really matter. But let's just put it into a human context. Let's say this reality had been lasting for trillions of years. Now these are numbers most of us don't even know how many zeros are at the end, so that's how long these eons could be of time. Now, let's just assume for a moment that you are this source consciousness. And you're there, you're so blissfully happy, but then you just decide you want to experience more. You want to experience more than just this blissful happiness. So what you decide to do, one day you decide, right, I'm going to fractal parts of me off. And I'm going to send these parts off separate to me, but still connected to me. And let's just see what happens. So, one day, you as this creator source, you decide to fractal, let's just keep it simple, 10 pieces of yourself. Now these 10 pieces go out. All of a sudden, these 10 pieces, they realise they're a consciousness on their own. And I've actually been shown this, I've been shown like little children whizzing around, like balls of light whizzing around, so excited that they're actually experiencing an individualness on their own, away from the source. So, and as these entities, fractals, whatever word you want to use, I saw them whizzing around so happily and buzzing and whizzing, and this went on for eons of time as well. And then I was shown that as these whizzing around entities, souls, fractals, whatever word you want to use, creator source, you, as in that, using that analogy, you decided then, I want to fractal this further, I want to experience more. So, because you're in contact with these fractals of yourself, these 10 that are whizzing around, you decide to go down another stage. So let's imagine it that you're starting off at the source level of consciousness of a dimension, let's say at the highest realms possible. And what I was shown is the more source wanted to experience itself, it sort of went in a downward trajectory, as we would see it, because we're always trying to ascend, according to some people, trying to ascend up these dimensions. Well, think about it in another way. These dimensions have gone downwards instead, and every time we take a step down doesn't mean it's inferior from the step above. It just means it's a different type of experience with different parameters. with these 10 fractals that were whizzing around, they were so connected to source that basically they were just in blissfulness themselves. So there wasn't really feeling any types of emotion, let's say, or anything like that. So once we get to the next level, so after these 10 whizzing around fractals, let's say they mature more and become more of a conscious, mature spiritual being, let's say. And let's say these 10 are the highest of the highest of the realms of spiritualness, what's out there. Some people may even say they may be above the God of the universe they're in, but that's another point. So as this progression goes down, let's say these 10 then create self, so they become creators. So they then create parts of their self, so their fractal part of selves of them, which is also a part of the original source, and then these then become other beings. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, let's say they're angels, just to give you some sort of representation in your mind, so you can get your head round what I'm trying to say. So let's say they create all the angels, let's say, or all the major higher selves out there, whatever you may be in contact with. And these beings are so connected to source still, so loving, so kind, so just pure, basically, as we would put it from our 3D reality, from our earth brains, let's say. So, like I said, who knows how much time's passed, because, like I said, time doesn't really exist, but let's just pretend it does in these realms. Let's say billions of years have passed, and these angels and Source, they decide to carry on creating, because Source is realising that all these beings he's created are giving him experiences what he's never had before. So therefore, decides to carry on down this road of creation. Now, from there, these angels, maybe they decided to create creator beings themselves. Maybe the grand plan was to have a universe, a multiverse. Now, this had never existed before, and Source wanted to expand on his own experiences by creating as many different beings as possible. So, they created creator gods, let's say. Now, from our perspective, these may be, in this universe, people pray to God, maybe this is one of these creator gods, because don't forget, they're all connected to Source. It's not like it being, if you look at it from, if you look at it from a religious point of view, you go to church, you read your Bible, this might trigger you, it might be all blasphemous to you, but what you need to remember is that's just programming, what you've been given by religion, basically. But let's put that to one side. So let's say these angels created these creator gods, and these creator gods went out and they created their own separate universe. And these universes, they decided, right, let's create the universe, let's create the galaxies, let's create the planets, and then every one of these galaxies and every one of these planets add a fractal of the original source, what had gone down to the Wizzy Ones, to the angels, to the creator gods, to the planets, to the galaxies. Every time fractals of Source was put into all these beings, so we're all connected still, and we're still sending back, and Source is getting all the experiences from all these planets and all these galaxies. Then the planets themselves, they decided to give their bodies up to create life on them. So then, obviously, here we are on Earth, we're created, or other planets. Now, at this point still, I was shown that all these planets and all these creations, at this point, there was all still like the original source: love, blissfulness, happiness, kindness, all the things you'd associate with goodness, let's say. Now, what creator source, original source, decided then was that it needed more experiences, more duality. So that's when then things started to turn more like they are on this planet. So basically what I mean by that is there needed to be an opposite to the good. There needed to be an evil, let's say. But this evil was not an evil like you would probably imagine in the Bible. It wasn't like a Satan, let's say. It was just that the beings that were created had the capability of being bad as well as good, whereas all these angels, let's just say, I'm not saying no angels are bad, I don't know that, I'm just saying that these physical beings was given the possibility of being good and bad, and this had never existed before, right? So therefore, there was all different, a whole realm, an all infinite possibility of possibilities opened up of what they could experience. Now, if you look at this from the situation now that we are on Earth, right? Now we're just going through and gone through some of the worst times ever on this planet, from the oppression of certain factions, let's say. Now these factions belong to an extreme version of this evilness, let's say, what was given to us by Source to experience. But what you need to do at this point is, I want it sort of taking you from a source right the way through to angels, created gods, to galaxies, to planets, to beings on them, then a duality of an evilness that's created what's possible in these beings as well. Now don't forget, all this time's been passing while this has been happening. And what you need to realise, that as a person sat listening to this now, you're at the extreme end of this entire process, what has been going on. So you are at the hardest part. Anyone that's incarnated on this planet is basically a real badass, for want of a better word, when it comes to a spiritual being, because you've put yourself in the hardest place. And the reason why you've put yourself here is because something's happening on this planet what's never happened before in this. I'm not saying it's never happened in the bigger picture, but in this universe where we are now, this has never happened. And I've been shown a sort of an amalgamation of like our higher selves, which is like, let's look at the scale of what we were talking before. Let's say you get down to the created gods and this on that level. So you're looking at a soul, which is your oversoul, basically. It can see all the different lives you've had. And what we've decided to do as a soul is get in touch with each other and have like a soul family. And these soul families then agree to have these experiences. And when us on this planet now, we're going to have an experience, and Source has decided to create a being what's never existed before, as in an amalgamation of a purely physical, like we are now, and a sort of higher self, but amalgamated into one body. Now I've been shown this, like I said, it's just the meditations I've had, but it does resonate with me, and I do use this filter, like I've said, to get information what's true, or it always panned out to be true. But this being what's going to be, it's going to be a lighter, so we're going to become a lighter version of ourselves. And I was actually at a meditation last night, and this is what's prompted me to make this video. I was shown my life and my wife's life in I think it's about 20 years in the future, and I thought it was a future life, but it wasn't. It was a future of this life. And in this, I and my wife and everyone else that was around, we was all in bodies what was lighter. There wasn't translucent, they didn't float. We had a physicality, but it was just a lighter, a substance of the body had changed. It was more like a crystalline type of body. And what had happened is the higher self, as I'm finding in my journey more and more, my higher self and me are sort of connected more and more on a daily basis. Well, this is going to be a point where the higher self and the physical are going to be joined in a body, and it's going to experience reality as one, but still connected to all the other realities. So because the higher self is going to be amalgamated into the physical, you're then going to be able to tap into all those connections upwards, like I've explained, to to angels, to creator gods, to Source, whatever. You're going to have that connection, and you're going to remember it all. And then we are going to be one of the most powerful beings in this universe. Now, I don't know about other universes, other creations, but in this creation, we are going to become one of the biggest, most powerfulest, and the most. We've got to put it this way: we're going to have so much responsibility because we're going to be so powerful. We're going to be more powerful than these creator beings that created us. Even though we're all connected, it's all us really in the bigger picture. But yeah, we're going to have so much power, and it's only going to happen to the people that are ready for it. And then we're going to show and teach other people on this planet and help them to get to a level where they can be responsible enough to go through this change, this evolution. Like I said, Source has never done this before, and I've been told off a good friend of mine who is very, very connected to these realms, has told me that Source itself, herself, whatever, is actually incarnated on this planet now in numerous people, but they don't know it, and they're just to be there to witness. And I surmise this witnessing is of this becoming this being what I'm talking about. So amazing times are ahead. So I've given you some sort of idea of my experiences through my meditations, how creation is, what it's all about. There's obviously lots of other subjects to touch on, like the duality of why do we experience badness in his life and goodness, but that's for a different podcast, I think. Because what I want to do now, I want to take us to another possibility. There's another possibility what I've not heard anyone else talk about, but I've often pondered this. I've pondered this actually all my life, but it's only recently that I've been able to put it into a context that it makes any sort of sense. So let's just go back to the beginning when there was just Source on its own. Now, how do we know that this Source creation energy was not the product of another evolution from another existence? Yeah, I know it blows my mind as well. So what I mean by that is, so let's just use like a magnifying glass and let's just zoom back out, right out. So we're looking at Source from above, and we've seen all the creation it's done and all the evolution, what I've just talked about. Now, what happens if that Source has only got to that level after it's gone through its own, like us now, let's say. So we're at a level now where we're going to become this being, and then we're going to graduate higher and higher and higher and higher. Then what happens when we get to a point where actually we can become a Source creator ourselves, and then separate from this reality, and then go down the same path, creating. Because at the end of the day, everything's about creation. So what happens if this has been going on for time frames which are just beyond our imagination? And what happens if there's actually an infinite amount of these sources, infinitely creating and going through this cycle over and over and over and over? So it's an evolution for everyone, and every possible thought form, everything is going through all these evolutions, creating all these different universes. Yeah, mind-boggling stuff, but it's something what I've often thought about. Because, see, infinity for me, from a human point of view, it does my head in. I don't know anyone, I've never met anyone that can explain to me how infinity works in a human brain. Because it just doesn't compute, does it? The fact that no matter what you do, you're never ever not going to be conscious. You're never ever not going to be thinking. You're always going to be there. Always. Never ending. Yeah, I know, it blows your head, doesn't it? So if that's the case, if that is reality, and things never end, I know people might say, well, what was before that? I don't know, obviously, but we'll just take it for what it is at the moment. So if you're around forever, then why wouldn't you create and have more and more experiences and expand it more and more? It just makes perfect sense. Otherwise, what would the point of being existing if it's just going to be the same all the time? So this is taking it to a really bigger picture. But what I want to do now, I want to zoom back into this earth realm, and to people maybe asking questions, listening to this, thinking to themselves, well, why am I experiencing all this badness in my life? Why do I always seem to be the victim? How come things never go right? Well, what you need to remember is, because we're all having experiences and it's all being fed back to Source, us as humans, as we are now in these bodies, our spirit self, we have a soul family. So take yourself out of where we are now, and just like you're in the stage just before you come into earth as a baby, let's say. What we all have as soul families. So we all have. There could be thousands of people in it. I don't really know. And I think there is. I think there's all these different players we come into these lives with, and I think we have close ones like might be his wives and his brothers and his children and his pets and whatever. But I do think we have a huge soul family, and I think there's all these other soul families as well, and then we interact with each other on this physical level to give us predestined experiences that we want to have as a soul. So part of our growth, so we've gone from the source, we've gone from the huge creators of all sources and then multi-sources and all that. Let's zoom back into just us now, and then this soul family and how we want to experience. So let's have an example that let's say this, I don't know, 5 of us in this very close knitness. What one plays the husband, one plays the wife, one plays the sister, one plays the brother, one plays the kids. And we decide now that the next life we're all going to have, one's going to experience being really bad. One's going to experience being the victim. One's going to experience being the jailer, what puts that person in jail. The child's going to experience abandonment because his parents got murdered, let's say it was the father what murdered, so he loses the father because the father goes to jail. So you agree to have all these experiences, and you're all laughing and joking with yourselves when you're in the afterlife because you're looking down and you know it's just basically a game you're playing. It's like created to help you have these experiences. So you're all happy. So you all incarnate into your bodies. You grow up, you meet each other. The man meets the wife, and they have a child. And then it turns out that the man's let's say an alcoholic because that's the role he gave himself, and that then leads him to be abusive, and then one thing leads to another. He murders his wife. Obviously everyone in the family is all outraged and then disgusted with it and everything, like you would be obviously in your human form. Then the child obviously grows up dejected because it didn't have a mum and dad, and his dad were a murderer, his mum's dead, so he goes through all these traumas because of this, all these traumas of what that being decided to give himself. And then maybe the child, let's say, has decided to have these hardships, so then he can then experience the love. So as he grows up, one of the other soul family comes in, it might be his girlfriend. And because of what he's gone through as a child, he is a complete opposite to his dad, and has experiences as being a very loving husband. Excuse me. So I just wanted to put into a bigger picture that these people in your lives, what might be doing bad things to you, people doing the good things to you, people doing nothing to you, we're all playing these parts, integral parts in giving each other these experiences. And when we go to the afterlife, then we take these experiences with us and we grow as a soul. And this is part of the evolution of how we can go from like we are here now right the way up to be a source, basically a source creator, God creator, whatever you want to call it. It's a progression, and it's a way of our souls being enriched with experiences to give us the knowledge and the experience to know what it's like. So next time you incarnate into a body, you won't want to experience being a murderer or a victim because you've done that already, and now you're ready to experience something else. So whatever that may be. I can speak for myself in my life. My life's been pretty blissful. I'll be honest with you. I've had a really good mum and dad. I've had ups and downs with my brother, but like you do anyway with your siblings. I've got a wonderful wife now. Had some terrible girlfriends in the past. I had a psychotic one that tried to kill an ex-boyfriend after me, but that's another story. But what I'm saying is overall, my life's been good. But I'm coming to a point now where I'm really making these podcasts talking about this sort of stuff. I've written a book about this sort of stuff. So this is obviously the life I've chose myself, and I feel like I, as well as millions of others on this planet, are getting to a stage where we're going to jump to this, become this other body, what I told you about what I saw 20 years in the future, because we've had all these experiences, because we've got the maturity as a soul, as a spirit, we've got all that to rely on. And then that has then given us the confidence and ability to grow to the next type of being because of that. And then, as you can see, if you was this sort of incarnation of your higher self and as we are now, maybe going through experiences as that will then give you the ability to have the responsibility to be maybe the consciousness of a planet, and then upwards it goes, if you can see what I mean. That's like a sort of ascension of your soul through the experiences you have. So I think that's about all I want to say for today on this subject. It's quite a thought-provoking subject. It is something I don't know, it's something it's took me a long time to come to these conclusions, and like I said, a lot of it has come quite recently through my meditations. I found that the more I'm getting connected to Source, the more I'm becoming who I am now spiritually. I'm finding it easy to access these things. So if you listen to this and you'd like to do something similar, just meditate more. That's my advice. I would definitely do more meditation. Find yourself a nice quiet place. And just meditate. Just take some deep breaths and just see where it takes you. You can manifest things into your life this way. So that's my advice. So anyway, that's enough from me for now. Until I speak to you again on another one of my solo podcasts. I hope you haven't fallen asleep listening to me. Hopefully not. So I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.